The Chicago Bulls have won their fourth game in a row after a victory over the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to talk about it all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. With that said, talk about wins. The Chicago Bulls won their fourth game in a row today, 116-110 over the Brooklyn Nets. This is a game that looked shaky throughout a large part of this game. When you look at how it went down, even heading into the fourth quarter of this game, which was right before the Bulls went on their major shift in this game, it was looking like it was going to be in favor of the Nets, man. Not even going to lie to you there. The Bulls started off the fourth quarter down 92-82 to the Brooklyn Nets, but then immediately went on a 15-3 run. And by the end of that run, the Chicago Bulls were up 97-95. Then the Nets pushed back a little bit, but then the Bulls sealed the game on a 14-4 run that put them over the Brooklyn Nets 113-105. They never trailed again in this game. Big performances tonight. Coby White with 31 points, going 12 of 24 from the field. We'll get more of his game here in a second. Tre Jones, of course, stepping in, being that starting point guard. With Josh Giddey out, he really had an opportunity to do a lot of the facilitating. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. He also created 16 points off assists today, which is really good margin when you add into that the points that he actually scored. Tre Jones has continued to be a revelation for the Chicago Bulls. Keep in mind, this is a guy that fell out of the rotation, man, completely out of the rotation with the San Antonio Spurs. He's always been a very talented point guard with a very good assist to turnover ratio, but he's really getting an opportunity to kind of really unleash himself here with the Chicago Bulls over the remaining part of the season. I said it before, right? And I get it. It is a bit of an exaggeration. I want to be clear, and I understand that it's an exaggeration, right? But in a lot of ways, Tre Jones has saved his career. And he probably would have had to be a player that probably would have had to sign a vet minimum deal next year in the offseason to go to another team. And I guarantee you he's going to sign for more than that. He's probably going to sign for a portion of the mid-level exception with whatever team he goes to next year. Because I tell you what, Tre Jones' ability to rebound, even with being the smallest player on the court a lot of times, his assist-to-turnover ratio, excellent. The defensive activity that he has, really solid, especially for his size, right? And then he's showing that ability to score, especially when you give him opportunity. I've never looked at Tre Jones as a scorer, right? I've always kind of looked at him much like his brother Tyus. He's a player that can score, or he's a player that will shoot effectively. But Tre Jones is showing an ability to isolate out and score some, like, as far as like getting plays called for him, which is really good to see from a point guard, right? And so this is a game where the Bulls had to overcome a lot, right? I talked about it over on Chicago Bulls Central. I'm not going to bring the exact same shtick over here. I don't know where Pat the designer is. Pat was supposed to be on the show. Pat's MIA. Prayers up to Pat, with having a new baby. Anything's possible, so no shade there to Pat. But this was a game where Nikola Vucevic was put back into the starting lineup. And I think this is a technical term. Follow me here. Very technical term. He sucked, right? He sucked. And we're going to get more into the reasons and the ways that he actively negatively impacted his team today. But the Bulls, the rotation being weird at times, it really seemed like early in this game, Billy Donovan was trying to find the right mix of guys, right? But with missing Josh Giddey, Lonzo still being out of this game. And overall, as this game went on and Billy Donovan started realizing who to play and when to play them, you started seeing a player step up. And one of those players that deserves to be talked about in a hugely positive light is Julian Phillips. 16 points on 5 of 10 shooting. He had the highest plus minus on the team today as I completely assault my microphone. At plus 19, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And here's the thing. You guys know I'm not Billy Donovan a guy, right? I'm not a Billy Donovan guy. But the fact that Billy allowed Julian Phillips to, at noticing that he was playing well, to continue to play well, and to have an opportunity to hit a big shot down the stretch for the Chicago Bulls, you got to give Julian Phillips credit. He had some defensive moments in this game. He had some offensive moments in this game. Julian Phillips outperformed Patrick Williams, Modest Vucevic, both in this game with the way that he was performing. And I say this wasn't a bad P. Will game either, right? Want to be absolutely clear here in using my words. This was not a game in which I'm looking at P. Will and saying that P. Will sucked. Last game, his first game back, P. Will was working through something clearly, needed prayer, exorcism, something. P. Will was active as well tonight, diving on the floor for loose balls, getting steals, right? Those type of things. Seeing that from Patrick Williams was really good. Still bench player type production, but it was good to see Patrick Williams even respond from his first game back to this game back, right? And so all those things worked out for the Chicago Bulls, man. They lost the rebounding battle, but only one turnover by the Chicago Bulls in the second half of this game, and at 7 in the first half of this game. So this was a team that, as the lineups restricted, you started seeing that chemistry, that fervor, that heart that the Bulls have been playing with here lately. You started to see that come back out, right? It wasn't there. And keep in mind, this was a team in the Bulls that shot 60% as a team from the field in the first half of the game, but it still felt like their offense hadn't really quite found rhythm. It still felt like it was a team that wasn't quite as engaged as what we've been seeing from the team lately, even despite shooting the ball 60% from the field. But throughout all of that, the Bulls come back out in that second half after going back down even more, being down by 10 points to start off the fourth quarter, and they still come back to win this game. I get it. I understand it. My pro takers, I understand that this is a time period in which nobody expected the Bulls to be fighting to win games right now. But the way that this team is competing, man, listen, you got to give them credit, man. Got to give them credit, bro. Really good performance from the Bulls today. I'm glad to see them just fight, compete, not give up, and play as a team. And like I said, Billy Donovan, he deserves some criticisms for the early rotations in this game, but he deserves some praise for how he allowed the rotations to really kind of speak for themselves and to dictate who was out there on the court, right? And that's not something we've always been able to say about Billy Donovan. So I got to give Billy Donovan credit for his coaching today. Got to give credit to the players for how they played today. They fought, they competed, they performed today, and that's exactly what these players are supposed to do. And led all by Coby White, who we'll talk a little bit more here about in the second segment of this show. But to think that one of the things that makes this special for this Bulls team is the fact that you had players like Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, Tre Jones, players that when we got those guys back for Zach LaVine, many people looked at it and said, what is this, right? What is this? We got to back a lot of nothing players. And these players, Kevin Huerter, I don't even know if I talked about him earlier. If I didn't, my bad. 7 for 16 for 18 points. He hits a big three in this game as well. He has 9 rebounds and 3 assists in this game from Kevin Huerter, right? But when we initially got these players back for Zach LaVine, we all looked at it as the Bulls got nothing, but they got their own draft pick back. That's at least the one thing that we can look at. No, the Bulls got some players that not only fit in with the other players on this team, they help bring some identity to this team that was sorely lacking it, and they help bring some execution to this team, and they understand how to run Billy Donovan's system. And that's not something that we expected, man. And, that's the thing that we'll see if it continues. I did spell Kobe's name right. Sorry, I did that. And because Coby was playing like Kobe today. That was a Kobe Bean Bryant performance. Let me get that corrected real quick because, I was tripping on that one. Charge that to my mind, not to my heart. But we're going to talk more about Coby White's performance here coming up next, man. And I'm just proud of this team. I'm proud for the way that this team's competing. I'm proud in the way that this team is going out there and playing the game of basketball, because I haven't always been able to say that this season. So That is what it is there, man. So we're going to get more into Coby White's performance coming up next. But first, we do got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops action all tournament long. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Bulls fans. By the way, before we get into this Coby White topic, I want to remind you guys that Locked On Bulls does have a daily newsletter. Go to lockedondaily.com to sign up for the daily Locked On Bulls newsletter written by your boy Haize. So make sure you guys stay in tune with us and lock in with us for that one. But with that said, we got to talk about this Coby White performance, man. We got to talk about Coby White's recent play overall. We talked about the slump. We criticized him for the slump, all those type of things. We got to talk about the performance. Coby White goes 12 of 24 in this game, 4-4 from the free throw line, only 3 of 8 from three-point range, but he was more in attack mode today. 31 points by Coby White today, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal from Coby, right? And when you look at the way that Coby has gotten himself in rhythm, he's turned back into that player that really, when the Bulls need it, he hits the big shots. And that happens so many times today as well. The thing that with Coby as well today that I think is really important to look at it, out of Coby's shots that he made today, right? Keep in mind, he went 12 of 24 from the field today. 8 of those buckets were unassisted. Only 4 were assisted, right? So 66, 2/3 of his shots today were made shots today were unassisted. And so that shows that Coby is getting back to creating in the paint, right? 58% of Coby White's shots today came in the paint. That's where Coby is important. Right? Not to say he's not important in other places, but that's where he can thrive at. So you're seeing a Coby White that more naturally was able to get back to the Coby that drives and how he creates off those drives, which is really important for Coby White as well. So him doing that, right? He took his shots from an average of 14 feet today. 14 feet is where he averaged at. That's a Coby White that's not out there trying to turn into a jump shooter. He's not trying to kill it out from the three-point range. That was an attack mode Coby. And that's the Coby White that's the most dangerous version of Coby White, is when Coby is in attack mode. Let the three-point shot come from you finding your rhythm by being in attack mode. And when you pair that with the way that Coby White's been performing here lately, right? So far in the month of March, he has not had a single game where he's not scored in the 20s, right? The last time Coby White did not score at least 20 points was February 26th against the Los Angeles Clippers, and he scored 19 there, right? Coby White is in a 7-game stretch of scoring at least 20 points. Matter of fact, when you look at the numbers for Coby White for the month of March, he's averaging 29 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, 34% shooting from three-point range, 5.2 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1 steal per game as well in that time. And he's getting to the free throw line 5.5 times per game. 5.5 times per game. When you pair that to look at his career average, Coby only averages 2.2 free throws per game for his career. Coby's attacking. And you know why that's important? This whole season has been about adjustments for Coby. His role adjusted yet again at the beginning of the season to where he is now. The team adjusted not only play style and what they needed from him in that play style, but also him playing off a player that he had never played with in Josh Giddey. Then another adjustment from the longest tenured Bull in Zach LaVine is gone. So he's now adjusting to being the longest tenured member of the Chicago Bulls team. This has been a season of adjustment for Coby, and he's handled some better than others, right? We're not going to act like and forget that Coby White went through one of the worst slumps of his NBA career this season. He went through it. But he's coming out on the other side of that in a much better place, and that shows the resilience. December was a bad month for Coby. January got a little bit better. February was a mixed bag. March, he's starting to put it all together. If Coby White continues this, right, he's already been one of the players that's had to adjust to a different role every single year he's been in the NBA. But if he starts settling in on what he needs to do for this team to be productive and play with the players that are now on this team, as well as the roster construction just makes more sense, the Bulls are going to have a tough decision to make when it comes to Coby White. Right? I understand why so many people leading into the trade deadline talked about the Bulls trading Coby, right? I didn't agree with it, but I understood it. I understand why the Bulls listened to offers for Coby White. 7 teams reportedly called on Coby White. I understand the Chicago Bulls taking those calls. Hell, I understand the Chicago Bulls taking more calls this offseason on Coby White if it's needed, right? I understand all of that. But I'm here to say this. Coby is not a perfect player. Coby may never be a superstar. But you know what Coby is? He's a hooper. And sometimes you just need hoopers on your team. Sometimes you just need guys that no matter what you throw at them are going to say, all right, bet. They may not agree with it. They may not like it, but they find a way, right? And Coby has been that player for the Chicago Bulls. I'm not sitting there saying that Coby, it's the end-all, be-all, or whatever else with Coby White. But I am here to tell you that seeing a young player that throughout his whole career, it's been uncertainty of what his role is going to be year to year. And I know his contract's coming up next season, and the Bulls got a tough decision to make because they're going to probably extend Josh Giddey. And the backcourt between him and Josh Giddey started showing a little bit more flashes, but still has its own questions. But it comes down to me. Are you going to get a player better than Coby White? I don't think AK and Eversley have yet shown that. Miles Vucevic may end up being that. I would assume who's damn good. Make no mistake about that either. But this thing is still about talent, right? It's still about talent. And last I checked, you don't have a player better than Coby White on this roster yet. So I understand if Coby White isn't on this thing long term, right? I understand that. But at some point, a great question from Ty here. I'm tired of trading. Let's start building camaraderie. Absolutely, right? You're not going to find out what a player can be if every time you make a shift in your direction, you get rid of everything that you've already had here. And the Bulls have already been bitten by that. Now, I'm not saying that they couldn't end up being a great deal. Maybe the Bulls end up getting in a position where drafting a shooting guard makes the most sense, right? Those situations can present itself. But you still have to ask the question of what are we getting back? And how does that really help us? What does that change for us? And that's the answer that a question I don't have the answer to. And hopefully the Bulls find it between now. But I got to give much love to Coby. If Coby just became a more consistent, like if we just did not see the long slumps from Coby White, this really wouldn't even be a question. It really wouldn't even be a question. But, hey, Coby got time. Maybe he can start eliminating some of those questions, and we'll see what the future does hold for Coby White, man. And we'll see what that brings. But overall, shout out to Coby, leading the Bulls in scoring. We needed every bit of those 31 points today, and Coby White delivered on that as he's been delivering over the last handful of games. We're going to go ahead and get transition. We're going to get into a message from Monarch Money, and on the other side of that, we're going to talk more about Nikola Vucevic. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on merch. Now I budget smarter and save even more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Bulls fans. Can I cook? Can I cook a little bit? I feel bad because I feel like I'm doing a eulogy twice. Here lies the carcass of one Nikola Vucevic. Here lies the body of Nikola Vucevic. We saw a live and utter death tonight via one Nikola Vucevic. Why did we see that death? Well, let's go ahead and break down the numbers real quick. For those that listen to the Chicago Bulls, since you may have already heard this, but hell, we're going to go over it again. When Nikola Vucevic was on the court today, right? So when he was playing basketball, human basketball for the Chicago Bulls, right? The Chicago Bulls had a -9 plus minus. They had a negative net rating of -23.2. Their offensive rating was 120. The defensive rating, keep in mind, lower numbers better with defensive rating. The average defensive rating is 110. The Bulls had a defensive rating of 143.2 today when Nikola Vucevic was on the court. Also, the Bulls had a pace of 92.9 with Vuce on the court today. Let's go ahead and change that to Vuce being off the court. If you look at when the Vuce was off the court today, 25 minutes Vuce spent off the court today. In those 25 minutes, the Chicago Bulls were +15. They had a positive net rating of +30. They had an offensive rating of 124 and a defensive rating of 94. Lower numbers, the better. 110 is league average. The Bulls' defense was elite when Nikola Vucevic was off the court today. We also had a quicker pace of 95.9. By golly, I don't know, but that sounds like a dead body. That thud you just heard, that was Vucevic's dead body hitting the ground. Because that's how Vuce played today, like a dead body. It might as well have been Weekend with Bernie's out there. That's who it might as well have been with. The Bulls might as well have been dragging out the carcass of Bernie out there and moving him around. Because I don't know if it was 2 left feet. I don't know if it's still the injury. Shout out to him being injured. Vuce is no longer with us, ladies and gentlemen. His body is here. You see him, but he's no longer with us. Nikola Vucevic actively played for the Brooklyn Nets today. That's how bad he hurt this team today. Nikola Vucevic is an op. He's an op. He's in opposition to anything positive happening for this Bulls team. Now, it was the first game back from injury. Maybe that changes. But Nikola Vucevic today was not just trash, was not just god-awful, was not just bad, didn't just have a bad stretch. Nikola Vucevic was a dead body out there. Matter of fact, If you would have put a dead body out there on the court, it would have played better defense because at least somebody would have tripped over the mug. When we set Vooch in the fourth quarter, the Chicago Bulls came alive. That's not happenstance. That's not happenstance. And typically when Nikola Vucevic's defense, you talk about a guy that can still put up 18 and 11 offensively, right? That's typically the thing that you look at when you're talking about Nikola Vucevic. You're like, yeah, the defense wasn't there, but hey, did you see that offense? Nikola Vucevic put up 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists today in a turnover. That's a Patrick Williams stat line. Vooch was almost Tony Snell out there today. And hopefully this is just rust from coming back with injury. We pray that that's just the case. But if it's not, Nikola Vucevic is your tank commander, ladies and gentlemen. Nikola Vucevic is your tank commander, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see what the future does hold, man. We'll see what happens here. But all I can say is this: every time Nikola Vucevic played the game of basketball today, this is all we heard. Crickets. Because there was no game of basketball being played from Nikola Vucevic today. It just wasn't. Nikola Vucevic was actively not playing basketball today. Nikola Vucevic was an op. A full-on op. So you can take that for what you will. But that's my time for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV. We're everywhere. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Bulls. We appreciate you guys for all the support, the love. Make sure you're following us at Locked On Bulls. Follow Pat at Pat the Designer as well. Got to go find Pat. I don't know where Pat is. Makes me a little nervous. But love you guys. Go Bulls. We'll see you guys on Monday. Peace, y'all. Want to see a dead body? Watch Nikola Vucevic play basketball.